Hello and welcome. Have you ever felt that frustrating gap between knowing English and actually speaking it? We're talking about that moment when your brain is just full of words, but for some reason your mouth stays completely silent.
I mean, you know that feeling, right? You've got the perfect sentence all lined up in your head, you're just about to say it, and then poof, nothing. It's like your brain just totally freezes up.
This story just captures it so perfectly. Picture this. You're standing in a bakery. You've been practicing your sentence over and over in your head. Hi, can I have that chocolate cake, please? But when it's your turn, it literally feels like someone pulled the plug on your brain. All you can manage to do is point and say something simple. And you feel so frustrated because you knew what you wanted to say. And here's the crucial thing to understand. A lot of the time, the issue isn't your English knowledge. You have all that great English inside of you. The real problem is the overthinking, that super noisy room inside your head that basically just puts your mouth on mute. Okay, so let's dive into this. To really solve this problem, we first have to understand what in the world is going on inside that noisy brain of ours. Why do we freeze up like that? Well, your brain can actually see the risk of being judged by others as a real threat, and that's what triggers that freeze response. So, why does this happen? Well, it usually comes down to three big culprits. First, there's that deep, deep fear of being judged. Second, you've got these memories of negative past experiences that just kind of stick with you. And third, you have the trap of perfectionism. Let's break each of these down. The fear of judgment is so powerful. It's that little voice that whispers in your ear, what if they laugh at me? What if they notice my accent or that grammar mistake I just made? This fear can be so paralyzing that saying nothing at all feels way safer than saying something that isn't perfect. And a lot of these fears were planted in our past. I mean, think about this story for a second. A teacher corrects a student with this really cold voice, the whole class laughs, and that student almost never raises their hand again. A single moment just like that can teach your brain that speaking up is dangerous, and its way of protecting you is, well, to keep you quiet. And finally, we've got perfectionism. This is the idea that you absolutely need the best sentence with the best grammar and the best vocabulary before you can speak. But here's the catch. While you're busy in your head polishing that perfect sentence, the conversation has already moved on. It's kind of like waiting for the perfect bus to arrive. You end up missing all of them. But here's the good news. We can change this. We don't have to just sit around and wait for the fear to magically disappear. We can actually start talking with the fear. So let's get into the toolkit and see how we can build a brand new habit. Okay, here are three simple, super practical tools you can start using today. They're all designed to just lower the pressure and make speaking feel way more achievable. All right, first up, use short, simple sentences. So many of us try to speak like we're reading from a textbook, creating these long, complicated sentences that are just impossible to say when you're under pressure. So instead of trying to say something like, I have always been interested in improving my communication skills, just say, I want to speak better. It's the same idea with way less pressure. Tool number 2 is to use reaction words. These are just small phrases that show you're listening and you're engaged. Things like, oh, really? Or, that's difficult. They're a really low-stress way to jump into a conversation, and they buy your brain a few extra seconds to form your next thought. And the third tool is to prepare a few ready phrases. These are sentences you practice until they just become automatic. You don't need 50 of them. Just having, say, 5 ready phrases for common situations, like ordering a coffee or asking a question, can seriously reduce your anxiety. And really, this is what it all comes down to. This is the core idea behind all these tools. It's not about being perfect. It's about communicating. A short, simple sentence that you actually say is always, always better than a perfect one that stays stuck in your head. So we have the tools now, but where can we actually practice them without feeling like we're being watched or judged? The key here is to find what we can call a safe mode for your practice. Here are 3 great ways to do it. First, just talk to yourself. I know it sounds a little strange, but narrate what you're doing while you're cooking or taking a walk. It gets your mouth used to just forming English words. Second, send short voice messages to a friend you trust, someone who knows you're practicing. And third, talk to yourself in the mirror. I promise, the mirror never ever laughs at your accent. All right, now for the final, and maybe the most important step. We need to change the conversation that's happening inside our own heads. It's time to transform that inner critic into an inner coach. Just look at the difference here. That strict inner voice, it's so harsh, right? It says, my English is terrible.
But the new coaching voice reframes this. It says, my English is under construction. It shifts from that I can't talk feeling to one small sentence's progress. This tiny change in how you talk to yourself makes a huge, huge difference in your confidence.
Let's really focus on that phrase, under construction. We use it for buildings, for roads that aren't finished yet. And what does it mean? It means work is happening, that progress is being made. Thinking of your English this way completely removes the pressure of having to be perfect right now. It celebrates the journey, the process of building something great.
So I'll leave you with this one thought. Every small step forward is progress. A single sentence spoken today, that's a victory. Don't wait for some perfect moment. Just choose a small, normal moment and say something. The question is, what will your one sentence be today?